Welcome to SECNAP's Breakfast of Compliance Champs series. We've created a series of videos covering hot topics surrounding data compliance, including PCI, GDPR, SOC, and overall cybersecurity. This video highlights a presentation given by George Ray, CISO and Compliance Director at Kaufman Rawson. George will be demystifying SOC 123 and SSAE 18. George brings notable experience in security audits, HIPAA compliance, technology, and cloud computing. He is responsible for managing and performing a variety of cybersecurity and compliance assessments, including SOC reports for companies in the financial services, healthcare, and technology verticals. Let's listen in on George's presentation.
How many of you guys here are obtaining a SOC report right now? I'm sorry for you guys. How many of you guys are getting the request from clients or customers asking for a SOC report? I'm sorry for you guys, the ones who are getting in the future. All right, so how I always say SOC reports, it is like getting a voluntary root canal, all right? It is not something that we want to go through. However, it's something that is very important. SOC reports, it's a great tool, all right? It's a great tool to help us manage our vendors. It's a great tool that helps us think forward. So I'm going to be talking about SOC reports from the CPA perspective. We've issued probably around 80 to 100 SOC reports in the past 10 years, all right? So we issue a lot of SOC reports in different industries. Now, I'm going to talk from the perspective of having to obtain a SOC report. We, as a CPA firm, we obtain a SOC report, so I have to go through the process as well. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story from both angles, so that way you understand where we're going. So we're talking about the different definitions of SOC reports. I think if we've been in business for 10, 15 years, I don't think there's been a standard that has changed as much as we've seen it. Started SAS 70, and prior to that it was something else, and it was called SA 16, and it's called SA 18, and now you're looking at SOC reports, SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, and then you have type 1, type 2. At that moment, you're pretty much just lost, all right? So we'll talk a little about that. We'll talk about how, if you have vendors, how you can be using the SOC reports and how you can actually better understand what that means to your organization from a risk perspective. So, let's not worry about all the things we've seen in the past. Let's think about what's going to be in the future, right? And I think we have a couple of CPAs here. I think, Robin, you're a CPA, correct? So pretty much SOC reports. Think about going forward. The SOC report is a report that's issued by it's a standard issued by the AICPA, all right? So that means that SOC report can only be issued by a CPA firm, all right? It cannot be a consulting firm. It has to be a public accounting firm. Why? CPAs are excellent auditors, okay? CPAs understand risk. So when we're doing an audit, we're actually auditing your business. We're auditing your activities, and we understand risk, and we understand how it works, all right? So going forward, think about SOC as the standard that we use out there in the market. You're going to see that there's a SOC 1, a SOC 2, and a SOC 3, all right? So when we think about the SOC, and SOC stands Service Organization Controls, really we're looking at different risks. So when we're thinking about the SOC 1s, we're looking at controls over financial reporting, all right? This is primarily what used to be very relevant in the market. Now we're seeing a lot of companies getting what's called a SOC 2, which is controls that have nothing to do for controls over financial reporting, has to do with security, availability, process integrity, confidentiality, and privacy, all right? So SOC reports really, what they're trying to do is test that your company has the right controls to manage any of these areas, okay? And I'll give you an example from the difference between like compliance and security. So one of the trust requirements is security, all right? So that means that if I have a company who has hired us to do a SOC audit on security, that means that actually I'm going to that client and I'm going to verify that they have the different elements or the different controls in place for them to have a secure space, all right? A secure environment, a secure service. That doesn't mean that that is going to meet your security requirements. That is probably going to mean that it's going to meet your compliance requirements. So always remember that. Like when we do our own SOC report, we tell our auditors that we do quarterly external scans of our network, all right? Which is true, but we actually do it on a monthly basis, all right? I told my auditors we do it on a monthly basis, but for purpose of the audit, I just want it quarterly, just because it's less painful for me, all right? Security, we're doing monthly, reviewing everything monthly. From a compliance perspective, we're telling them it's quarterly, so that way we have less evidence that we need to provide, all right? So security and compliance is a little different in that sense. When we think about the SOC report, so we have a client, and let's use an example, a medical billing company, all right? So medical billing company needs to provide one of their customers assurance that they have the right security in place. So when they come, we're going to be looking at the typical things. Do they have policy and procedures? Are they providing training? Are they dealing with background checks? Do they have any type of internal, external vulnerability assessments? How are they managing change? At that time, we're testing what the client is telling us that they have in place. And we're agreeing to that. We're saying, yes, we independently reviewed it, and everything is fine. We'll put a report, 80-page report. The truth is, no one really reads that report. How many of you guys have read that report? Correct. And the reason why is because no one reads that report until something goes wrong. And that's when we need the lawyers in the room. But typically, no one really goes through the process. What is key and what is relevant for everyone to remember is you should be putting more attention in your opinion, all right? The opinion is in the first 5 pages of the report. That is really what the CPA firm is doing. It's saying, listen, we reviewed this. We did not look at these service providers, if that's the case, and this is our opinion. So if you're going to read something in the SOC report, spend time reading your opinion, all right? Typically, when you're looking in the opinion, you're going to be looking at what's called the auditor's report, all right? That tells you the scope, what was included, what's outside of the scope. We're going to be looking at a second section, which is within the SOC report, the management assertion. So when we've been hired by a client to do their test, they're signing a management assertion saying, hey, we have all these great security controls in place. I need someone to come and verify and confirm that it is true, all right? So that is really what we're doing. And that's what the client is, when the client is hiring that CPA firm is saying, we have all in this place, I need you to confirm that. Then we have what's called the management description, all right? That is probably like the story behind it. It's like, this is the way we do things. This is the way we do employee backgrounds. This is the way our password controls. This is our change management. This is the type of security we have in place. So that is kind of like the narrative. Typically, the company who's hiring the CPA is responsible for preparing this description, all right? So this is relevant for your company when you think about from a monitoring perspective. If you need to comply with a specific framework, this is where you want to be looking at. These are the controls that they have in place. Does this apply to me, yes or not, all right? And I'll give you an example. You may have a policy within, let's imagine I'm a healthcare institution. I have a policy that everyone should have multi-factor authentication, all right? So that means that probably that policy should be driven to your vendors as well. Now, you go to the vendor, they get a SOC report. When you look at the SOC report, those companies might not even have multi-factor authentication. And that doesn't mean that they're not passing. That means they're passing from a security perspective, but they're not meeting your policy requirement. So remember that. If you have policy requirements, if you have security requirements, look at the description to see if they're actually meeting your requirements. If the answer is no, they're not meeting, it's okay for you to go back to your client and say, hey, by the way, do you mind adding this section to your audit? Do you mind adding these controls? So you can have that conversation with them. The fourth section is the auditor's testing results. This is typically what the auditor does, all right? So this is where the table, the matrix is. This is something that we, the auditors, own, which is saying how we actually got comfortable that the controls you told me are in place are relevant. This is important depending on your risk management. And the reason I'm saying is because a lot of times you can say that an auditor will test through inquiry, just asking questions and doing observations, all right? That's a good way of testing, but it's not the best one. Ideally, you want to do inspecting, or sometimes you want to be reperforming the controls that the client has in place. So the type of results, the type of tests that the auditor perform will make a big difference on how good your SOC report is or not, all right? So keep that in mind. It is key and it's relevant. Finally, we have what's called the other information, which is sometimes information that you as a client wants to put out there just because. Any questions so far? Perfect. All right, so let me go back to this one. So SOC reports, all right? So we have what's called the SOC 1 report, all right? SOC 1 report is controls over financial reporting. That means that pretty much if you provide a service that is affecting the financial statement audit of your clients, you're going to get a SOC 1 report, all right? Payroll provider, that's a perfect example. Data centers, that's a perfect example, all right? Now, if what the service you're providing has nothing to do, will not impact the financial statement of your customer, then you're looking at a SOC 2 report, all right? So depending on the operations you're providing, you might need to get 1 or 2, or could be the 5. We rarely see that one, but it can occur. It is, so it all depends on the service that you're providing, all right? Within the concepts of the SOC reports, you have something which is called a type 1 and a type 2. So the difference between a SOC report that is a type 1, it is a report that's being done as of a specific date, all right? So if I'm doing an audit right now, I'm saying, okay, today is July 30th. In July 30th, I came here and I saw that there's 2 doors. One is open, one is closed. As of today, there's 2 doors. One open, one closed. That's perfect. The type 2, you're looking at least 12 months. So the auditor is testing 12 months behind. So we need to confirm and verify that during the 12 months, there was like 2 doors. Eventually, and if you're managing the risk and you're looking at your client's SOC, your vendor's SOC reports, you want to be looking at the type 2, all right? Because that is going to give you more assurance that the controls that they had in place were in place for those 12 months. And so the truth is that a SOC report, it is a tool, all right? And it is a tool, if you don't have a SOC report, it's a tool that actually will help you open markets in the sense that sometimes more regulated industries will require a SOC report for you even to open an RFP. So it's a tool as a client for you to get one. It's a tool for you to manage your own vendors, all right? So if you have a security requirement and then your vendors have some level of data or your same data, you need to make sure that those security requirements are being passed to that vendor. And what's the best way for you to evaluate whether they have it in place or not? Looking at their SOC report. If they don't have one, ask for one. Or figure out a way and you can actually manage and monitor their operations so you can manage their risk, all right? So it is a tool, and it's a tool from a vendor management perspective. It's a tool from a marketing perspective. So it's a good tool to have.
Thanks for watching this session provided by SECNAP Network Security. A link to other Compliance Champ videos in this series can be found in the description of this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel. For over 17 years, SECNAP has enabled clients to conduct business effectively and securely on the internet. Our security as a service solution, CloudJacket X, features patented technology in combination with security experts that manage, detect, and respond to ongoing cybersecurity threats 24/7. CloudJacket X eliminates labor-intensive log analysis and alert fatigue, allowing our clients to focus on their business. SECNAP also provides regulatory compliance and information security assessments. For more information, visit secnap.com.